Not concerned about you. They just puffed up. And pastors have to be careful. It's going to tell us about this in just a minute. Read. Now, we're going to stop right there. Now we're going to go the man with the withered hand and what Jesus did. Why he did it. He knew that he was going to do it. He knew the man was going to be there. Of course, you know he did. He knew the man was going to be there. He went there for that purpose, to show the Pharisees. To show the Pharisees. You got to be concerned about the people more than what you stand for. Now, true, after you get them healed or delivered or whatever, you got to teach and preach to them. But you got to be more concerned about people. The man with the withered hand, and read.
The first miracle of the Sabbath covered in this lesson took place in the synagogue in Galilee.
Okay, it took place in the synagogue of Galilee. It says clearly Jesus was more concerned with bringing liberty and healing to people, and the Pharisees was consumed with controlling people and maintaining their religious system. Controlling and maintaining their religious system. Controlling people. We have to be careful there not to control you. We don't want to control you. But there are rules. It's going to get you straight here in a minute. I knew y'all couldn't tell us what to.
That's
Yep. And the word of God itself is the rule. The word of God is the rule.
That's right.
We're not setting these rules. These rules come from the word of God. That's another thing. But if we come up with some set rules, but what we be saying, it comes from the word of God. Okay. Skip down to the second paragraph, sister.
The Pharisees' adherence to the sacredness of the Sabbath was noble, but Jesus attempted to lead them into a greater understanding of its meaning.
He wanted to give them a greater understanding of the meaning. Okay, it was read.
He wanted to alter the whole intent and spirit of the Sabbath as it had become in their day. The Jews already felt threatened by the seeming disregard Jesus demonstrated for their fast days.
See?
And now it appeared to them that he was making things worse by violating their Sabbath.
Jesus broke the fast. Could somebody tell me when he did that? Quickly. You right. You right. He was good. They was going through the field. And they shucked the corn and they ate it. It was on the Sabbath. No, it was on one of their fast days. Like they could eat on the Sabbath day, but it was on one of their fast days. And they just thought that, I mean, they didn't care. They didn't care that somebody was about to die. They didn't care that they was, people just, that's what they were saying about the Pharisees. Just like when, every time Jesus healed somebody that was sick, most time, that little child, he told them, he said, give them something to eat. Give them something to eat. Give them something to eat. And if suppose it was on a fast day, saying, you can't be dogmatic about this. You ain't getting nothing to eat. This is fast day. You got to wait till tomorrow. There you go. You can kill. You can be too dogmatic with it. Okay. Read.
The Gospels list 6 occurrences of Sabbath violation.
Okay, stop right there. Now, the man with the problem, we're going to start there.
Fresh from his confrontation with the Pharisees over the concept of the Sabbath, Jesus walked into the synagogue looking for an opportunity to illustrate the higher call on the Sabbath.
He wanted to show them the higher calling on the Sabbath. He wanted to show them that they had it wrong. The meaning of it was wrong. He wanted to show them there was a higher calling than that on the Sabbath. He wanted to let them know you got to be more concerned about people. You got to, it's just like, he said, you care more about the animal you do about people. If you had a dog fell into a hole or an ox fell into a hole, it was on the Sabbath, would you leave him down in there? You would get him up out of there. He was telling the Pharisees, he said, now you would get him up out of that hole on the Sabbath, but yet you don't want me to heal this woman of her infirmity, to leave her bowed over of her infirmity just because it is on a Sunday. On their Sabbath day. See, you got to be more concerned. Read.
Perhaps both Jesus and the Pharisees knew that the man with the withered hand was in the synagogue that day. Jesus knew that it would offer him an occasion to demonstrate his earlier principles set forth to the Pharisees in their confrontation with him.
Okay, turn the page because we got a lot to read. And just start at the top and listen.
Everything about him was ordinary except for his troubling problem of having a withered hand.
Now the man was ordinary just except for his hand. His hand was just withered. Read, listen.
The Greek word for withered reveals that this man's hand was not always in such a state. It once was whole and full of strength, but it had withered in a similar way to a plant that shrivels from water deprivation. Because of disease or injury to this man's hand, it had become useless and was possibly a cause for shame.
Now it just withered up and was possible for shame. Just like, mostly like when people have a stroke, you see their hand and they, something like that. When they have stroke, their hand, they lose movement on one side, both sides, hand withered up. Most of them hand, it's useless because it's just useless. Can't do nothing. Read.
One of the principles according to Mark, it appears that this man's weakened faith had not entirely disappeared.
See, although the man was withered, now listen at this. This is for us. Although the man's hand was withered, and although he had become, just almost useless and a shame. It was a shame almost. But listen, the man still went to the synagogue. He still had faith, letting us know, whatever happened to you, don't stop coming to church. You still come to church. Whatever happened to you, don't lose your faith in God. He is still a healer. Whatever happened, the man still came. Listen, read.
There evidently was still a flickering flame of faith that caused him to go to the synagogue to worship. One of the principles that we can learn from this miracle is that worship is crucial despite what may have withered.
Worship is crucial. The man still came to church and did his worship. Whatever going on with you, you give God the praise. I don't care if you can hardly. Here we go with some rules. No. You worship God. Don't let whatever happened to you, don't let it stop you from praising God. You got to have a praise for God. You got to learn how to worship God. I don't care what you're going through. Don't lose your praise. Whatever you're going through, don't lose your praise. Don't let it sit you down and dry up.